G'day friends and fans, welcome to Tabletop News. I'm your host, the author David Applegate, author of the books The Erotic Tales, Power Games, Into the Elves Mound, and The Erotic Tales from the Empire. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the patrons and other supporters who help make this channel possible and invite you to join them through the QR code on the screen. Please and thank you. Wait until after the show, please. And speaking of the show, let's just pop over to my favorite site first, the Bundle of Holding. All right. First up, we have Punch Nazis, an extended and anti-authoritarian tabletop role-playing game from communists. Nothing like a good old dose of hypocrisy. But if you take this ironically and treat it as a parody of Antifa, it's quite funny and quite... But of course, it's a dystopian nightmare presented in the form of resistance, so-called constitutional rights comrade. But of course, it's just another scam, but I'm going to include it anyway because it is an RPG, a little overpriced, but it's still an RPG, even if it is blatant propaganda. And I mean, if it was $19, it would be, you'd say, yeah, it was a reasonable price. $12.95. But it's the yeah, for what it is, it's up to you. They actually, I see at the grassroots level, they think they're making a better world, but it's just swapping one authoritarian for another. That's the nature of politics. And why, fiction RPGs, we're supposed to be building, every RPG is about building a better world. Except, I mean, you look at Shadowrun, most of them, you look at practically every D&D campaign's about bringing down something evil. So, to pretend that you're the one fighting the resistance is spitting in the face of everybody who's ever written anything about fighting evil. So I'm not going to give this this propaganda any more time. Anarchists, or anarchists reaching into your pocket, anti-capitalists reaching into your pocket, when there are probably better, sorry, here we go, a little bit more, but still. Look at what you get for this collection for $14.95 compared to, there is now and again a bad collection. This is way overpriced. I'm sorry. I thought it was a parody. It's not. I hope. But you can't treat it as a parody. I'm just saying it's better off being treated not as a parody. But the obsession, it's beyond the joke. It's a mental illness at this point. When you get much bigger collections for much less, well, not much less, but Champions, I believe, is a wonderful system. From April 2017, this is a rebirth of a 1989 tabletop role-playing system for heroes. And it's a gigantic system. It's rather comic. It does play into the comic book superhero genre, but at its height, when it was heroic, masculine, and people were real champions, heroes of the people, regardless of politics. They didn't stop to ask your pronouns and stuff like that. This is an amazing collection from not forgotten era, a much missed era. And look at the size, 638 pages. This is amazing detailed 4th edition rules, originally published in 1981, championed since decades, been the leading superhero game. And yeah, I'm so over Marvel and Marvel shit. It's become a joke. It's they disrespect their creators, they disrespect the fans, they disrespect their employees, and they disrespect, most of all and worst, is the artists themselves, as they're stab them in the back, steal their work, and then dump them in the streets, and pretty much shelve their work so the rights run out or loses value so they can profit later. Everything, though, however, focus on this, I should, about RPG news, but hero system, I think, again, you look at all the other systems that are shitting themselves in the bed right now, and I'm trying to create my own alternative, but I can understand from a psychological point of view, people are addicted to Dungeons and Dragons. But getting off this clown cart, if you really want to get off the clown cart, you have to support other systems. You can't bog yourself down and say, oh, I'm going to support D&D forever and keep buying more and more modules, keep getting more and more. No, you got to get off the merry-go-round. And these old school classic systems, they're actually not difficult. And they are created by some of the most creative people that ever created for role-playing. Champions, of course, highly underrated. I think GURPS is overrated. I think Dungeons and Dragons is a little overrated. I'm not saying Gygax isn't a genius. I'm saying since then, it's just become rearranging the deck chairs just to sell another system book. A lot of their stuff is overpriced. And other than the fan stuff, you'll never see them, you'll never see them selling less than retail. And they want, maybe I'm inserting too much of my opinion, but I hope not. I'm hoping just getting you to think a little bit outside the box and consider the alternatives out there. I mean, mutants, aliens. I mean, you look at the stuff today. Zombies are overdone to death in almost everything. I'm actually surprised they haven't put Marvel Zombies up or any of the Marvel horror. And it's really weird? There was a time Marvel made romance stuff as well. Did you know that? And there's a lot of alternative stuff that used to be Marvel, back when Marvel was good. And it's the same with D&D. There used to be so much stuff for D&D, and it's just so much has been thrown out the door or forgotten or taken away. But there's still, I think overall, the corporatization of RPGs, the creators selling out to big corporate interests because they couldn't get the distribution otherwise, is just a travesty that should have never been allowed. But of course, when you're a creator and you want to see you do eventually want to send your creation out into the world, but it should not be long. But it should be long in the hands of the creator. I think. Look what happened. Actually, though, we got some of our best Star Wars from third parties, so it's not a hard fast rule that the original creator will do their best all the time, but I think we're far too intolerant of mistakes, and we're far too locked into the following the trends. I think as a society, not as individuals, I think there's a lot of people out there who do support independent and smaller creators. Otherwise, these systems wouldn't exist and still exist. And there are lots of people, and these are like martial artists, mentalists, super mages, mystic masters, almanacs. There were just, I mean, a lot of these I would not say are original thoughts. A lot of people create similar stuff all the time. But the threshold price, $31.61, level up, right? Yeah, vital supplements in the main pack. That's what's amazing about this one, is you get so much. Not since it's pretty well balanced in that you get enough. I would say at least 2 to 4 years of role playing just in the first pack, and then you add that up, and then you go to Champions Universe, which expands the universe for a little bit more. I wish both were about the same price, but there's a lot. I think there's more content in this one as well. So you get the Enemies book, Day of the Destroyer, and more. You got heroes, demons, enemies of you got dragons. Gold Rush Games has produced, secured the Champions license to publish 4 supplements about San Angelo's metropolis, obviously LA, but you get Astro City RPG, and I think sort of reborn in this City of Heroes, in-depth look in the Designers, enemies, then the Dragon's Gate that you Big Trouble in Little China. Hey, Mikey, I hope I've produced your name. Yeah, I don't remember Champions all too well. It has been like a long time. Because the RPG club I used to go to closed years ago, and I'm not sure Champions and Heroes, Deadlands. I played Deadlands a lot there. We actually mostly ended up in the last few years of it, though, just playing Shadowrun. I think one of the problems is when you're younger, it's like we have more time. And for me, I wouldn't mind playing role. I wouldn't mind role playing once a week. Heck, but finding a group, finding regular players, finding and one of the reasons why the club broke up is because people didn't have the time. But it wasn't just the time; it was becoming an expensive hobby. Like, I'm not saying that it wasn't cheap back then, but it just feels like today it's just. That's why I like these bundles, because you look. I can imagine if digitization. Yes, time is the issue at any age, but it's just like. It just seemed back then we had more freer weekends, and jumping on a train, going to the city was just was very cheap. Meeting halls were very cheap to rent, and you'd have hundreds of players. But over time, it just quickly wore down very quickly, because people would cling to the same little groups and just go off and play it. And eventually people went and played in their own little groups, in their own little basements. But the biggest problem, I think the biggest thing that killed role-playing was when Magic came out. So many people just ditched role-playing for Magic cards. It wasn't fun. It was, I don't know. But again, it's like comic books. I remember how people used to swing from comic book to comic book at university, you know. And then when comic books started to go up from, you know, when comic books were no longer $1, and people were getting more and more serious about university, you know, very quickly the comic club as well. I actually paused my writing and focused on things myself. But I think Champions, you know, is an amazing system. I just can't remember too well any one thing about it other than the just the humor of you know, superpowers, high tech enemies. Day of the Destroyer. I am Death, Shadow of Worlds. Yeah. Demons Rule. Mostly I remember Shadowrun. The last one was just when the is it as technology? Oh no, Renaku. When Shadowrun 3 came to an end with the and the birth of Shadowrun 4, I think, with the Renaku AI. And I think that's when RPGs, I mean, actually, compared to some of the books today are actually cheaper than they used to be, while others are a bit more. But I think that was the first time books went over $20. We have another series of adventures here. And of course, leveling up, which I always do. You got dimension traveling, lots of adventures. Each adventure should take you multiple sessions. Boxbat, Unhinged, scenarios for super villains, Cinderella, time traveling adventure, Engineer, Foxbat, Dr. Foxbat, Island of Confusion, Finest Mortals, the Foxbat. Yeah. At least there's some people who remember the old school bundles. Which is weird. I had first edition and second and third and fourth, but somebody stole them along with all my comic books, stamps, because, you know, that's what college roommates do. They run out on the rent and steal your stuff. It's because it's ridiculous. But that's what happens to people all the time. And it's just crazy that people could go to court and say, oh, we had a dispute and he owed me money, and just walk away scot-free. But that's you know, the law's an ass. But Heroes, and this is actually 4th edition, $14.95 for the complete collection. Now, Heroes is one of those fantasy, cyberpunk, superhero. It's a all-in-one past, present, and future system. You got fantasy, future. I don't remember if they ever went too far with the future stuff. I know a lot of it. Oh, it's not here. I thought they had a superhero one. So I think that's the one I remember. But yeah, all in one. Let's see. This is new, so probably yeah, 65 books, not in the entire fourth edition. They are big. They are fully detailed, full adventures, full source books. And this is back. The Hero System is still reasonably priced compared to others. Now, what we have, another one, an interesting one, is Dust City Outlaws, reasonably priced, $7.95 for the introduction. And of course, then you have the upgrade. Now, again, I always recommend you always recommend, if you like a pack, to upgrade. Because you get all the key adventures, the key storyline that the creators wanted to tell, which is partly why they re-released these sets, is to actually, they want to see their stories live on. And this is a sort of Western meets cartels. It's somewhat a modern Western in many respects, but it is it's like cyberpunk meets Westerns. You are the outlaw. Lord of the Ring, Leverage, Ocean's 11. No, that's a good comparison as well. Because, yeah, cyberpunk is a bit, you've got to strip off all the technology. You've got turf wars. Again, this is pretty much straight out of the Western, saloon fighting, crook gangs fighting over cities or suburbs. Dust City Jobs, you got a whole bunch of scenarios. Convince a anti-cartel magistrate to stay on the sidelines. I mean, every outlaw cliche story, or however you want to take it. The zombie job. This one retails at $88 for this collection, but $7.95 for the starter pack. And level up, you get, starter pack is basically the rules and the basic introduction, whereas the bonus set gives you, pretty good collection. An interesting one, if you're into science fiction, is FTL Nomad. You're basically mecha, spacecraft, and synthoids, basically, or androids, or basically Westworld with spaceships. And it is a bit more cyberpunk. And it does have faster than light ships. You're an FTL nomad who basically takes on jobs. Dust City is new, I believe. It was a Kickstarter, I think. Where was it? When did it come out? This one doesn't actually have a history straight off the bat. When it came out. Sometimes, yeah. Oh, here it is. No. Though it's usually they tell you if it was a Kickstarter or whatever, but it did come out April 21 from Scratchpad Publishing. So I would assume, there it is. January 7th. I did see it. Went past it. January 2017 Kickstarter got released 21 on as a bundle, but bundle holding they go through cycles. But I mean, a lot of them end up here as a successful Kickstarter. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, a lot of these, FTL Nomad, I think also was science fiction, still gaming publishing. Old school rules meet cyberpunk, faster and light adventures in near future and far future space with mechs, spacecraft, and synthoids. Basically, your Westworld skin jobs, and you've got jobs to get you started. I mean, it's a smaller pack, but at a smaller price, and you compare that to Punch Nazis, probably $12.95. You can just basically get the first pack. I mean, there's a bit more in the first pack, but yeah, it's a pretty good one. Now, before I continue, I have a Kickstarter myself. I'm a writer, if you didn't catch it in the intro. 45 days ago, the Erotic Tales from the Empire, Part 1. Continue or begin the saga of the Empire of Elves with this Kickstarter. Now, in this story, the Erotic Tales, which is broken in many parts because it's an epic, so it's going to be multi-volume work. Cade's come of age. He's done more than so in his wild arts. Everything he does is with purpose, and even when he lies or misleads or misdirects. Now, of course, we have the ebook, paperback, and hardcover. You can get the first 3 ebooks to catch up. Comes with some art. Bookmark. Signed hardcover or signed softcover or paperback if you want to be traditional. And they the paperback and hardcover comes with the ebook and the bookmark. All right, now another thing I did is when I started writing. I actually started writing RPG stuff from my writing. I actually world build before I started writing, and I have Future Fantasy, which is actually the Future Fantasy is the name one of my patrons, where basically it's a science fantasy. You can create fully playable elves for modern or future settings, expanding the rules of luck. However, I altered the lethality. I made it a bit more lethal, a bit more fast-paced in some respects. Also, got more expansions with more to come, way more to come. I've written a lot of stuff. And this caught my eye because not last week, I think the week before, there was a solo pack. It was interesting. It was how to play a lot of games solo. And I remember back that solo play used to be something that was frowned upon, but actually became more and more. There were actually people who solitaired or solo played various card games. Because you get, particularly Pokemon, you'd get lots of doubles, or you get sequences. You look at the characters. You get basically 2 to 9. If you ever looked at Mini Solitaire, you can actually build a Mini Solitaire deck of Pokemon and stuff like that. People did all sorts of things back when, but things never took off, particularly in pre-internet days. But Mythic Games Master is an interesting and actually one of the best sellers currently out there. So just shows you how solo play is big. Although the price of the printed material is a bit high, and it is a premium, but PDF, I mean, yeah, it's still but apparently it's a it's very popular, very big, and I thought it worth mentioning because solo play is on the rise. People again uses the fate chart system, more intuitive than fate apparently, but I remember Steve Jackson games. Remember those choose your own adventures? Well, this takes it to a whole new level, and actually is cheaper than a lot of those self-play books that you see out there now. So it's simple yes and no. There's a few simple yes and no, random events, tables. What's changed? It's actually a new edition. So Mythic is upgraded. And I'm pretty surprised. It's actually a small team, not a big for a bestseller in RPGs. It's normally something produced by a big team. It's highly unusual that an independent, unique system. It's a small company, but that two people can